Hello everyone, my name is DJ, and in this tutorial I'm gonna teach you how to make this model, this HyperX microphone. It's a microphone exactly like mine, that's why I decided to make it. And as you can see, I try to make it more realistic as possible. Okay, right now I'm rendering using Eevee, but it also works in cycles. So in the next 5 tutorials, I'm gonna show you how I built this model from scratch. So I decided to divide this tutorial in many parts, 4 to 5 parts, I think, because I'm gonna try to make it beginner friendly. So I'm gonna try to explain each shortcut, like each modifier we're gonna use. Even though I know it's not a simple object for a person who are beginning to deal with Blender. But if you follow along, I think it's possible to complete this task, okay? And for users that are more advanced, you can just watch the video in 2.0 speed and try to follow along as well, okay? And after we complete the model, I'm gonna show you how I apply the materials and the texturing. I'm gonna provide the files I use as texture here in the description of the video, okay? So you can download it and use it as well. And that's it, guys. For those who doesn't know this channel, I am DJ, I already told you. And I use this channel to teach people how to create AR experience, augmented reality experiences, using especially Spark AR, Meta Spark AR from Meta. You know those filters from Instagram and Facebook? I also make filters for TikTok, but I never posted a tutorial about it. And in the process of creating these augmented reality experiences, we need to learn how to make 3D objects to make our experience more interesting. So that's why I decided to study Blender, and I think I learned enough to be able to teach other people. Most of my videos are in Portuguese because I started this channel in Portuguese, but I intend to continue the channel for now on only in English because I think videos in English can reach more people. And if you are interested in creating also VR and AR experiences, you can subscribe to this channel, okay, and become an augmented reality creator as well. This tutorial is not focused in augmented reality, it's more to practice Blender, okay, because this kind of model, we wouldn't be able to use this model in one AR filter because it has too many geometry, okay. For example, just this portion here of the microphone has 172k triangles. So that's too much for AI experience. Okay, so this tutorial is more focused in practicing Blender. So guys, that's all I have to say about me and about this channel. And let's get started. Okay, we ready? So let's get started. First, I'm gonna activate here the screencast keys so you can see the keys I'm typing, okay? Let's see if it's working. Okay, it's working. Okay, I think the size is okay, right? If it is your first time opening Blender, you're gonna face this cube here. Unless you open a different project, different kind of project. So let's suppose you open the VFX by mistake or video editing and sculpting. So you can come here at File, New, and General. On the right side, you can see 2 different tabs. This first tab here, you're gonna find all the objects you work with. For example, by default, we start with this cube. That is a mesh. That's why it has this symbol here, this triangle. It means it's a mesh. It has vertices and faces and edges. And also it comes by default with on light source. It's here. And with a camera. This camera here. Right now, you're not gonna use those assets. So what I like to do here is to create one new collection, okay? Collections are like folders where you're gonna organize your project. So you can click here with the right button of your mouse and select new. Then I'm gonna create a new collection. Then you can double click and rename it. I like to rename it camera and lights. So all the lights in my scene and cameras, I put inside this collection. Okay. Since we're not gonna use those elements right now, we can click here in this little square and tick it, and then we hide it. Okay. And then you have this cube only. So let's delete it. You can delete this cube by pressing the delete button or pressing X. Okay, when you press X, usually you're gonna see more options besides this delete only. Okay, let's delete it. Okay, so after we delete our cube, I'm gonna show you how to navigate here on the screen. My first time opening Blender, I couldn't even like navigate here, so it's a very important step. First, to rotate, you're gonna press the middle button of the mouse. Okay, you can press it and rotate it. Then you rotate your view. To pan the screen, you're gonna press Shift and middle button of the mouse. Okay, so you can pan it. To zoom your image, you're gonna scroll the middle button forward or backwards. Okay, and that's it. You're gonna get used to these steps as you work with Blender. So our first step is gonna be add a reference image. So come here to the Add tab. Okay, here you're gonna see all the things, all the elements you can add to our scene. So you can add here meshes, you can add curves, but what we want right now it's the image. Okay, and we want the reference image. So let's add here. I already have this folder with all the images you're gonna need. So let's start importing this front image. Okay, as you can see, when we import the image, its direction and rotation is gonna be towards to our view. Because my view was at this angle and direction, the reference image is gonna point towards the direction. Okay. However, I want it parallel to our axis. Okay. So to do this, I can click on my image. Okay. When you click the image, you see this orange border. It means it's selected. Okay. So there are many ways we can move one object in our scene. Okay. Here you can see these buttons on the left side. If you can see this menu, you can show and hide it pressing T. Okay, the shortcut T on the keyboard. And here we have these three options. That is move, rotate, and scale. For example, when you press move, you're gonna see those axes here, a blue X, a red, and a green. The green is the Y direction, blue is Z, and red is the X direction. Okay. And the same thing with the rotation. Here you can rotate in the X direction, Y direction, or Z direction. Same thing with the scale. You can scale only the Z direction, or Y, or X. So this is one way you can change the properties of one object here on your scene. And there's also a different menu here. In this little arrow, you can click it and you can see this menu. Okay. Usually it has only, I think, three options. These three options here. These other options I have because I installed some add-ons, some extensions that I use to help me model. Okay. So this first tab, it's the item tab. Here, when you have your object selected, you can see the location, rotation, and the scale of the object. For example, here you can see the rotation related to the x-axis. Okay, I want it to be 90 degrees. Okay? 90, like this. So it's going to be parallel to the x-axis. And I also want it 0 on Z, on Y, sorry, and 0 on Z. So we have this reference image pointing towards me parallel to the x-axis, okay? And also I want to move it a little back, okay, in the y direction. So I can move it here, change the location. I can scroll using the left button of the mouse, okay, and scroll left or right. So I'm gonna push it a little back here and a little up. And now I'm gonna press the key number 1, okay, in the numpad keyboard. And when we do this, automatically the view of our scene change towards this direction here, okay? It's like we are in the y-axis. So here in this gizmo, you can change your view. For example, from above, from the right side. And if I click again in the x-axis, I can go to the left side and so on, okay? So you can use this option here, the gizmo here, to change your view. And also you have these shortcuts on the numpad keyboard. Okay, we have the 1, 2, have the 1, 3, and 7. Okay, and as you can see, when you press these buttons, the gizmos change as well. 3 you can see from the right side, 7 you can see from above, and 1 we can see, you can have this front view. Okay, so actually I want to move this image in this direction here, because we're going to add our object here in the middle of our scene. Okay, so to avoid all this work of changing the rotation of our reference image, now that I'm going to add the side view of our microphone, I'm going to press 3, okay, or as I told you before, you can press here in the X. And let's add another reference image. Let's add our side view, okay. Here the side view. And every time you add a new object, it's going to be added here at the center, okay, where you see this little circle, red and white, okay. So let's move it a little left, so we can change the location here, okay. Let's move it around here, or you can move clicking here and hold this arrow and push it, okay. But when we work with Blender, we rarely use those buttons here, okay. And here, only when you need some specific values, we move our objects, change these values here in this menu, okay. What we usually do is use the shortcut for moving, that is the G button. And when you press G, you are able to move your object anywhere, okay. So I'm gonna right click the mouse to cancel this action, okay. Same thing for scale and rotation. Rotation, we use the shortcut R on the keyboard and you can rotate. And for scale, use the shortcut S, okay. The move shortcut is G because of the word grab, okay, it means grab. And to lock this action to a certain direction, you can press, for example, the G button. And if I want to move only in the X direction, I press X, okay. And now I can only move the object in the X direction. And that's what we're gonna do. Same thing with the Y direction and Z direction, okay. So those shortcuts are very useful, okay. You're gonna have to memorize these because we work with this like all the time with G, R, and S, okay. We rarely use those menus here. I don't remember using it like in months. So it's very important that you memorize this shortcut, okay. So right now we have these 2 images, and also let's add the back side of our microphone. So since this is the front view, it's front view, and I want the back view, I'm gonna click it again, and then I have the back view. I'm gonna hide this first image here. Actually, let's first rename it, okay, so you don't get lost. I'm gonna name it front, and the other one's gonna be the side. gonna hide this front now, so you can see the one that we're gonna add right now. Let's add a new image, reference image, and let's add the back view. Okay, I have the back view. I'm gonna move it a little here in front. Okay, so we have just all three images. Let's rename it, double click, back. Let's also create a new collection for all our reference images. New collection, let's name it reference images. Okay, we have our reference image here. Let's drag it inside this collection. Okay, right now I'm gonna hide this back view image because we're not gonna use it right now. Okay, so let's only keep these two images for a while. So finally, let's start modeling our microphone. So I'm gonna start with the base. I think it's one of the easiest part of the microphone. Let's start adding one circle to our scene. Let's come here to add, search for a mesh, and let's add a circle. When you press add a circle or any other mesh, this menu here is gonna pop up. Okay, and here we can set some properties of our mesh. In this case, we have vertices. If you look from above, you're gonna see it better. I'm gonna decrease the number of vertices, for example, for 10. And you're gonna see we have now 10 vertices only. Okay, you can change it here. You can increase the number of vertices and decrease. My strategy was to create a circle where the side, the edge of the circle, matches the width of this part here that we're gonna extrude later. So I found that number of vertices 16 is a good number. Okay, and now I can click outside our circle. Okay, once we click outside our mesh, that menu disappears. Okay, the next step is gonna be to rotate the circle around the z-axis like this, but I want to rotate it so this side here, the side at this point, is gonna be parallel to the x-axis, because we're gonna have to extrude to form this part here of the base. Okay, so because we have 16 edges here, so we're gonna have to rotate it 360 degrees divided by 32, because we want to rotate only half of the side. Okay, if you want to rotate, for example, we can do our calculations here. Okay, for example, we're gonna rotate around the z-axis. So you can come here and click, I want to rotate 360 degrees divided, so I can press, so 360/16. So when you rotate this angle, it's gonna rotate the entire side here. However, if I rotate 360 by 32, it's gonna rotate only half of the side. So you're gonna have this side here parallel to the x-axis. Okay, what I have to do now is to fill this empty part here of the circle. Okay, so to handle with the vertices, the edges, and the faces of our object, we can handle it in the object mode. Okay, right now we are in the object mode. Okay, so here in this mode we can't handle like individual vertices or sides. So let's go to the edit mode, because in this mode we can handle individual vertices. I can drag only a single vertices. I can drag a single side. Okay, but right now I can only select vertices. As you can see, you can only select these little dots here. And why is that? It's because we have these three options here, these three buttons, and clicking on these buttons you can change if you want to select only vertices, edges, or faces. Okay, right now we don't have any face, so we can't use this button here. And we have also shortcuts to select those options. We can use the number 1, 2, or 3 of the keyboard. Okay, and this time is not the numbers in the numpad. It's the number at the top of the Q, W, and E, okay, on your keyboard. Then you can select these options. Right now, I want to select all the edges. So I'm going to choose this option and press A. When I press A, it allows me to select everything in our mesh, okay? Or you can use the select box here. You can select this, you can pick this option and choose select box, this mode here, and drag your mouse like this. Then you can select the part inside this box. Okay, with everything selected, let's do another operation that's very important, very useful. It's the extrude operation, okay, the extrude action. And for this, you can use this button here to extrude. You can click this button and press extrude. But usually you don't use this button, okay? I don't even know how to handle this button very much. What we use is the shortcut, okay? So let me select the select box again, select everything, and I'm gonna use the shortcut E. Okay, the button E. When you press E, you can extrude those sides, those edges, okay? And without clicking anything after we press E, you're gonna press S to scale. Then you're gonna be able to scale the faces you extruded, okay? So let's drag around here. And now to fill it completely, you're gonna come here to face, okay? And select the option grid fill. This way you're gonna fill your circle using only quad faces. Quad faces are faces that have 4 vertices. And in this tutorial, I'm gonna try to make our entire model using only quad faces. Okay, because when you have quad faces, we can use all our modifiers without any problem. So we complete our circle here, and the next step is gonna be add some depth to our circle, okay? Because right now it's only a flat surface. As you can see here, it has no depth. So let's go back to our edit mode, okay? And another shortcut that we always use to change from object mode to edit mode is the shortcut tab, okay? You can click tab in your keyboard to change between these modes, okay? We rarely use this menu here. We usually press only tab to change between modes. So to create depth in our circle, let's select everything, press A, and let's extrude again, once again, pressing E. Okay, let's drag it around here. Let's see if it matches the reference. I'm gonna press one here. And as you can see, we need to move our reference image to match our circle here. So let's go back to object mode, select our image, and using the front view. Okay, right now I pressed 1, so I'm facing here the y-axis, and we can click here as I told you before, and I'm gonna move our reference image. I'm gonna leave it around here. Let's also check the side view. I'm gonna press 3. Okay, and I'm gonna also move the image to match our circle. I'm going to increase the size of this one, the front image, a little more, drag it here, okay, around here I think it's okay. It's because the picture is not facing the same angle as we face in our circle. It's a little above the y-axis, but I think this is okay. We can have an idea. We're gonna use it just as a reference, okay? And now let's go to another important part, that is to design, to model this side here. Okay, so let's go back to our edit mode and let's start the process. Okay, let's select this face here, and with this face selected, let's start extruding, trying to make the shape similar, okay, to this one. So I'm gonna press 3 so I can go to this view, and I'm gonna press E to extrude. Okay, I'm gonna drag until here, the beginning of this curve, and as you can see, our face is still selected. Okay, if for some reason you deselected, you have to check here if your face is selected. Okay, otherwise you are not able to extrude it. So let's extrude it again, but this time I don't want to extrude in this direction. So to unlock this, I press Z, and now I'm able to move the direction I want to extrude. I'm gonna extrude around half of this curve. Okay, I release it, I click the mouse, and I'm gonna rotate this face. Okay, let me just hide this image. So I want to rotate this face because the next time I extrude, I want it to go upwards, okay, following this direction here. So I'm gonna press R to rotate and lock it in the X direction. Okay, press X, and I'm gonna rotate it like this. Okay, let's change to the side view so you can see it better. Let's rotate it like this, and let's extrude it once more. Extrude, each extrude until the end of this curve. Press G to grab and R to rotate, okay, with our face selected. I'm gonna rotate until it points in the Z direction, this. Okay, so you made this part, the curve part. And now I want to extrude until around here. Let's see the back reference image. Select the back view. As I told you, you can press here Y. Okay, so let's drag our image like we did with the other ones to match our circle. Let's increase the size, grab it this direction. I think it's okay around here. As you can see in this base, we have a hole here. Okay, so we're gonna extrude this side, this face, until the start of that hole. Okay, don't know if you can see it, but let me show you here. I have this microphone. I have this hole here to pass the wire. Okay, so with the face selected, let's extrude it. Let me change the view here. So let's extrude it around here. Okay. What you're gonna have to do now is extrude these two sides. Okay. You're gonna have to extrude one side and then the other side. But fortunately, we have one modifier called mirror that allows us to reflect like a mirror. What we do in one side, it's gonna be reflected in the other side. Okay. So for this, we have to split our mesh. Let me hide this picture here too. We have to split our mesh in half. Okay, we're gonna have to draw a line here, one edge that cut our mesh in half. And you're gonna do this by pressing Ctrl R to add a loop cut, okay? Or you can use this button here, but as I told you, we usually work with the shortcut only, okay? So let's press the Ctrl R, and here you can see a problem, okay? I'm gonna confirm it in the mouse so you can see what's the problem. Because we feel the central part in that way here is not symmetrical, our loop cut's not cutting our circle in the middle, okay? So I'm gonna press Ctrl Z. I'm gonna delete this part here. I'm gonna do this part. So I'm gonna select all these faces. Okay, let's select all these faces. To select multiple faces or multiple edges or multiple vertices, you can hold Shift, okay, and click. And remember that I'm selecting faces because this button is selected, okay? So after selecting all these faces, I'm gonna press X and choose faces, okay, delete faces. And the same thing with the faces here in the bottom part. Select everything, press X, and delete faces. And let's fill it. Let's select all the edges, okay? You can click here, select edges, or press 2 in the keyboard. Let's select all these edges. And when we have a loop like this, we can use the shortcut Alt. You can hold Alt and click the edge beside it, and you can select the entire loop, okay? Instead of holding Shift and select one by one, you can press Alt and select the entire loop. And now to fill this hole, let's press F. Okay, same thing with the bottom part. F. Okay. And now we can add our loop cut here. Press Ctrl R in this region here. You have to pass the mouse in this region, okay? So you can make this vertical loop cut. And after you click with the left button of the mouse, you can scroll your loop cut, but I want it to stay in the middle, okay? So I'm gonna press the right button of the mouse. Like this, we release the loop cut right in the middle, okay? However, our loop cut ended here, and we want it to go all the way to the bottom of our circle, okay? To do this, we're gonna use another tool, that is the knife tool, this tool here, that we're gonna use also pressing the shortcut, that is the K key, okay? So let's select here the vertex mode. Let's change our view from above, like this, press 7. And I'm gonna press K to activate our knife tool. So we have this little knife here, and I can click in this vertex and drag it. I want to drag it following the y-axis. So I'm gonna press Y. It's gonna lock in this y-axis, okay, until I reach these other edges here. Okay. So automatically it created these edges, these vertices, okay. However, it didn't create the edges in this side, in the bottom part. So you can do the same strategy. You can change the view for the bottom view. You can press Ctrl 7 to change to the bottom view. And using the knife, we can do the same thing. You can press K and drag it here. So you cut it on the bottom as well. But I'm gonna teach you another way. I'm gonna press Ctrl Z to undo this cut. And I'm gonna show you how you can cut through our mesh. So let's press 7, top view. Let's press K to activate our knife. And here at the bottom, you can see some options that we have. You can see here that if we press the C shortcut, we can cut through our mesh. By default, it is off. Okay, but if I press C, it's gonna be on. And now I can do the same thing and cut, following the y-axis. Press enter, and ta-da, we have here the cut also in the back part, okay, in the bottom part. Now you're done cutting our mesh in half. And now I'm gonna select one side, all the vertices from this side here, and delete them, okay? And to make sure I select the vertices from the top and from the bottom, because when I'm viewing from this side, I can only select the vertices from the top, okay? Or if I am here on the bottom, I can select only the vertices from the bottom. There's a way where I can select the vertices, even the ones that I can't see, okay? Even the ones here in the back. And this way is to select this button here, the toggle X-ray view. So when we press here, we have one X-ray view, so you can see through our mesh, okay? So I can select both the vertices from the top and from the back. Okay, so let's activate this view, this X-ray view. And I'm gonna select all vertices from this side here. Okay, all vertices are selected. And I'm gonna press X and delete all vertices. Okay, now we only have half of our mesh. I'm gonna press this button here again. And now that we have only half of our mesh, let's add the modifier mirror. Okay, you can press here in this tool, press add modifier, and let's choose mirror. Okay, we add mirror, and you can see here there's some problem with our mirror. Okay, our mirrored image is rotated. This is because in the beginning, if you remember, we rotated our circle, I think 360 by 32 degrees, remember? And that's why our mirrored image is rotated too. So to fix this, I'm gonna go back to object mode. I'm gonna select our mesh, and we have to apply that rotation. What applying the rotation means? You can see here in our transform menu that our object is rotated 11.3 degrees. And because of this, our mirrored image is going to be rotated as well. So when I apply the rotation, if I select our object, come here to object and select apply and select rotation. Now, pay attention here. Our Z rotation is back to 0, because now it considers that this is the default rotation of our object. So it's very important when you apply the mirror modifier or some other modifiers that depend on these values here, that you always apply the changes you made, okay? As you could see here, you have in the apply option, you can apply the location, the scale. If you change the scale, you also have to apply it. Here you can apply all at once, all of them, the location, rotation, scale. And now we have our mesh back to its normal shape. But this side here, if we go to the edit mode, you're gonna see that we can't select the vertices or the edges, because this side here is only the mirrored image of this other side, of this right side, okay? And another thing, here in our mirror modifier, we can select clipping. Okay, we're gonna select clipping. So the two sides are gonna be attached to each other, okay? Because if you don't select this clipping part here, if we move this vertex, for example, they are not attached. So you can cut through the mirror and it can cause some problems, okay? So let's select the clipping. And as I told you, let's extrude this part here of our mesh, okay? So to do this, we're gonna have to add another loop cut here to create a face around the width of this. Okay. You might ask why you don't add a face just using the knife tool here, for example, like this. Why I can do that? Actually, I can do this. However, when I do that, this face here, this face, is not gonna be a quad anymore. It's gonna have 5 vertices. Okay, it's gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this might cause some problems when we apply some modifiers. For example, if I apply the subsurface modifier that you're gonna need to apply in the future, it can cause some shading issues here. So we don't want to do that. Okay, so let me remove. So what I have to do is to add a loop cut, but when I press Ctrl R, if I add this loop cut here, it's gonna create another vertex in this edge. I don't want that because in the future I'm gonna also turn this face here into quads. Okay, so let's undo this loop cut, and what I'm gonna do now to use the knife tool to create more geometry here in this face. Let's select the knife tool, press K. Remember to activate the cut through, press C. Let's create this face here. Enter. And now I'm gonna add the loop cut. Gonna add the loop cut and connect these 2 vertices. Again, use the knife tool, press C to activate the cut through. Okay, let's see if in the back is also correct. It's correct. And let's add another loop cut to connect with this vertex here. Let's do the same process. Press K, press C to activate the cut through, connect. I'm gonna select this loop cut and move a little bit to the right. To do this, as I told you, you can select one edge, press Alt and select another edge. So the entire loop cut selected. And I'm gonna press G and G again to scroll our edges from one side to the other. You can do this, okay? I'm trying to make the width of this face similar to the width of this part here. Okay, so now let's extrude until around here. So let's select the face and extrude. Around here, I think it's fine. I think it's okay. And now you're gonna have to shape this round portion of our base. And you're gonna do this using extrude again. So with our face selected, let's extrude it again, press E to around here. And now with the face selected, I want to scale in the Y direction. Okay, so press S and press Y to scale only in this direction here. And then I'm gonna do the same process. Extrude to around half of the circle. Scale again in the Y direction. Okay. Don't forget to lock in the Y direction, otherwise you're gonna scale it in all directions. So it's not gonna be a perfect round circle. So let's do it again. Extrude. Now I'm gonna scale down. Okay. Oops. I'm gonna scale down in the Y direction again, like this. And I'm gonna extrude one more time to the top and scale again in the Y direction. To around here, I think. Maybe down a little bit. Try to make the shape similar to a circle, okay? And now let's add the subsurface modifier to see how it looks. With the subsurface modifier, we're gonna see how our object looks like if it has more geometry, okay? So let's select our object and let's add the modifier called subdivision modifier, this one here. Subdivision modifier. You can increase the amount of geometry you want to add. As you add more subdivisions, your mesh gets more soft. However, it gets more heavy, okay, to load. So let's keep at 1 or 2, okay. And you can see here another problem, because when we add the subdivision, our round shape got a little bit weird, okay. This is because we need bevels, okay, to make our edges more sharp. For example, we can manually add one bevel. Let's add a loop cut here. You can drag this loop cut to here, and the loop cut on the other side as well. So now you can see a little bit of improvement, okay? We're gonna have to fix this shape, it's not as round as I was expecting. But there is another way that we can do this without adding more loop cuts to our mesh. I'm gonna undo this, Ctrl Z, and we're gonna use the bevel modifier, okay? I select our object and add the bevel modifier. And let's put the bevel before the subdivision, okay? And now let's increase the segments, the number of segments. Let's decrease this amount, distance. And you can see that's adding bevel even in these regions here that we don't want. So we have to increase this angle here. So it's gonna add the bevel only in sharper angles. Okay, maybe here, 60. Okay. Okay, I think it's fine now. And also let's add one shade smooth. You're gonna click with the right button of your mouse in your mesh and select shade smooth. This way you don't see that shading from our edges, okay? So now let's fix this round shape that's not as round. It's not a perfect circle. So for this, we're gonna use one add-on that comes by default on Blender. And to add this extension, we're gonna press here in Edit, Preference, Add-ons, and we're gonna search for Loop, I think Loop Tools. Then you're gonna select here, mine is already selected. You're gonna select this option. You're gonna save it here. If the autosave preference is not selected, you can save preference here. Close. And let's go to the edit mode. And here you're gonna see the new option here called edit. And you can see your loop tools. And with the loop tools, you're gonna use the circle option to create a perfect circle with our selected edges. So I'm gonna select those edges here. Okay. I have to select manually. In both sides. And let's click on circle. And now we have this perfect round shape. Okay. And you can see that this base of the circle is not as sharp as the one in our model here, in our picture. Oops. As this base here. So let's add one loop cut there. Select our object, edit mode, and I'm gonna add one loop cut here. Okay, Ctrl R and drag it here to make it more sharp. The transition between the stick and the circle part. Okay, we're almost there. We are almost done with this first part. Okay, it's taking a little long because I'm explaining every step, explaining every tool. And as we move in the tutorial, I'm gonna need to explain less and less details. So it's gonna get a little bit faster, okay? And now what I wanna do is to add one hole here, because in the original microphone, we have a hole. We have a hole here to add this screw, okay? Thinking better, we can't add this hole right now because the hole in the other circle is a little bigger than the hole in this side here. So we're gonna add this hole only after we apply the mirror modifier. But before we apply the mirror modifier, I want to add another detail to our base. I want to add one detail here in this part. In those reference images we have, it's not very clear. But in this image here, you can see that there's a little bevel, a little extrusion here in the central part. And also this part here is a little curve, okay? So let's try to do this to make it as similar as possible to the real one. So first, I'm gonna add one loop cut here. I'm gonna drag it until around here. And you can see we have a little shoe here, a little shading shoe. And to fix that, let's add another loop cut here and drag it down. Okay. I'm gonna move this loop cut here, these edges, a little more to the center. So I select this edges here. Okay. I'm gonna press GG to move it, to slide it to around here. And with this edge selected, I want to push it down. I'm going to press G and Z and push it down like this. And after I can push this down through. Now we have that curved look here. And we need to do the same thing with those vertices. I'm going to drag it down a little. GG to slide down. Same thing here. Maybe a little more here. Okay. And now let's select those faces. As you can see, when we apply the subdivision modifier, sometimes we are not able to see the original edges in our mesh. So what I'm gonna do is to hide our subdivision in the edit mode. So I'm gonna press here and we go back to our original shape. Okay, so it's better to see the face we are selecting. So I'm gonna select those face. Oops, this one, holding shift. Okay, now let's extrude in the y direction. So let's press E, extrude, and Y. Okay. Remember to activate the clipping of the mirror, okay? Let's activate the subdivision again. I think we're fine. Let's just fix this little vertex here. Not working. Maybe if I add another loop cut here, it can't fix it. So let's add and drag it here. Yeah, I think it fixed it. Okay, so now that we finished this part, let's apply our mirror modifier. Okay, let me hide this picture. Let's apply our mirror. Okay, you have to come back to the object mode. And we can come here to this little arrow and apply. Okay, now if we go back to edit mode, you can see that now this left part is also real, right? We can select things, we can select the vertices, we can select the edges. And what I can do now, just to make all quads, let's use our knife tool to connect these edges, okay? These vertices. So I'm gonna tap 1, press K, press C to cut through. Connect these ones, press K again, C again to cut through. Let's do this with all our vertices. Okay, C to cut through. Okay, C. Okay, C. And the last one. Okay. And now to make it even more similar to the real one, real model, I'm gonna add one extrude here in those faces. So let's select them. There's another way to select. I'm gonna teach you now. You can press C, okay, and this little circle gonna appear. You can scroll your mouse button down or up to decrease or increase the size. And when you click, all region touched by the circle gonna be selected, okay? And you have to press enter to confirm. And now I'm gonna extrude in the z-axis, okay, just a little bit like this. Okay, so now I have this base extruded similar to the real one. And now to finish this base, finally, let's add holes in both sides here. Okay, so to do this, let's select all faces from this side, all faces from that side here, and let's inset this face. Okay, to inset, we have this button here to inset this one, or you can press the shortcut I. So let's press I, and let's drag until around here. This hole is a little smaller than the other one. Okay, and with both sides selected, you're gonna click with the right button of your mouse and select the option Bridge Faces. And here we have a perfect hole. And let's do the same thing in the other side. But the hole in this side is a little bigger. So select everything, press I to set. Let's set until here. And press right click. And bridge faces, okay. And now we are done with the base of our microphone, okay. We don't need to apply right now our modifiers. You can leave it like this. You can increase the number of segments in the bevel. You look very close, you're gonna see a little difference if you increase this number of segments. Okay, I think around 2 it's fine. No, maybe 3. You're free to add how many segments you want, okay, and the subdivision as well. You can increase the number to 3. So you have this nice beveled edges. Okay, let me see with 2. Yeah, I think it's fine too. You can leave 3 at the render option. So when you render, you're gonna render with subdivision level 3 and leave the viewport with 2 only. So you won't have problem with lagging, this kind of stuff. Okay. So guys, that's it for this first tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. I tried to be very detailed in this first tutorial, explain each shortcut, how to navigate. So if someone that is following this tutorial will never touch Blender, I hope you can understand. I hope you can follow as well this tutorial. And for people who already have a little bit of experience with Blender, you can just watch it in 2.0. That's what I usually do. When I'm watching tutorials, I press 2.0 so I can watch faster. You know, when I already know, when I already have a base of what I'm watching. Okay. So guys, that's it for today. In next tutorial, I'm gonna model the screw part here of the base and the microphone itself, this cylinder part here. It's gonna be very interesting because we're gonna learn about the array modifier to make these little holes here. Okay. So bye everyone.